Brought to you by PLO Genius.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to day 4 of the Coin Poker Cash Game World Championships. I'm joined in the booth with Griff, Mahasajan, Pew Jones. Thank you for joining me.
It's good to be here.
Wonderful.
Been playing a bunch, so yeah, it's fun to hop on the commentary, I guess, for a little bit.
He's gracing us with his presence, coming straight from the streets, having been playing in this competition for the last couple of days. How's it been going?
Pretty well, I'd say. It's definitely a change of pace, adapting to it. Yeah, it's a lot more aggressive than I initially thought it would be, and I've definitely made a lot of mistakes just like adjusting in the wrong way against certain people. So it's a mind blower when you think you're making a good decision and then you fold or whatever, and the cards pop up with the villain's hand, and you just like your head's in your hand, seeing what blunders you made.
Has that been getting into your head at all, of knowing you're going to know exactly whether you made the right call or not?
I guess I don't like it overall, but it's definitely an added dynamic to it where like you get this instant feedback of did you make the right decision or the wrong decision, which sometimes it feels pretty good, but sometimes it obviously feels pretty rotten.
Do you feel like you're learning from some of the other players, or are you getting taken to school?
I've definitely been taken to school quite a few times, thinking made a clear decision and then just been shown absolute opposite of what I thought I was making.
Well, that sounds like a lot of fun. All right, well, let's get into these hands. We have these hands collected from the last 2 days of play. This is our 4th day of recap. Cutoff opening, small blind 3-bet.
Yep. I think we don't fold much here.
Pretty standard defend, 200 bigs deep. You think this gets stabbed a lot?
I think, yeah, most people would check it back, I guess. I don't see too much reason to need to start betting. Yeah, seems good. Pot on the turn.
Wow, that's is that turn call automatic? That's a big bet.
I guess it's kind of scary versus some people. Normally we have more 6-7, so you're not getting bet too much into, and then when you get bet into, you're not normally facing pot, I think. But they're pretty deep, and like, yeah, you can have a decent amount of 6-7 3-betting. So yeah, I think he's got appeal with the ace king and the 9-7. Yeah, it's just crushing against any flush drawy type stuff. So on the river, I mean, it's a decent hand to call, I guess.
Having the straight blocker, or blocking
Yeah,
king, or what's the...
Yeah, I don't know how many kings would go for this line. It obviously depends on how aggressive the guy is, and also like his 3-bet range. But I could definitely see a call versus some opponents here.
Do you think the
and maybe a guy
player...
like Dick Butt is someone who's finding the spicy pots. Like I don't know, maybe he just sees like a double pair hand with 6s or 7s or something and pots.
Do you think the out of position player can ever have 2 pair here, or is it sets are better?
You would hope not.
Why is that?
You would hope not when you're calling maybe a thinner bluff catcher, but this hand also blocks those pretty well. So yeah, maybe you get thinned sometimes by king 8, but I would be surprised to see king 8 too much here.
You think some of the kings up might get put into smaller sizings?
Yeah, I would think so, yeah.
Well, it wouldn't be a highlight hand if we didn't see a station here. And it's one of the flush draw hands you were talking about. Do you think, is it possible that out of position might have over-polarized her?
Like, I would be surprised if I'm seeing too much king 8 here. If you have a king and a straight blocker, you're kind of thinking like, okay, like he's representing a very thin range from his 3-bet. Let's see what he's got.
All right, we have a 10-20 hand. Cutoff opens button 3-bets.
Yeah.
Is it normal to 3-bet the suited to the king single suited combo? These
I
stack
think it's always a 3-bet.
100 bigs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Seems good.
Cutoff choosing to donk for a 3rd.
Yeah.
Never folding.
Nope.
Ever thinking about folding turn?
Did he pot the turn?
B50.
I think it's not the nicest combo to call with. If we're going to fold some king stuff, maybe this would be in there.
Yeah, I think the exact price you're getting on turn with the perceived amount of draws that they could be barreling makes it seem like you want to call here, but then there's a third street to play.
Yeah,
That's fine.
exactly. You're getting potted on a lot of rivers, and yeah, there's not many of them that are doing too well for you.
I mean, you only
This
get the
being one of them.
offsuit deuce when you pray before
Yeah, but then the
decision.
offsuit deuce, you're still calling this as a range that's pretty polarized, and
This is a river I did not expect to see a call on. Holy cow.
I would not
Okay.
have called either. But I don't know what
So
he's got a read on Zaguez or not. He's
what
been
is
bluffed a few many times and shown a few many cards recently.
that's what it sounds like. So what do you think could be taking this line? Are we looking at like King Jack 10 that's just blasting off? But he has King King. I mean, I'm trying to think of a
Yeah,
10x with a gutter that doesn't make a straight that
yeah. There's not too many. Obviously, there's certain and like you could have like Queen 10, Jack 10 type stuff. Um, you do beat a few hands, but it's definitely not the nicest call to make. A lot of the value hands get there. Mm. Then even on the river, like Queen Jack is just going to jam probably because it's probably got a pair blocker as well somewhere in there. Um,
well, in order to have Jack Jack 10 here, the cutoff needs to be putting those types of hands into flop bet in order to be able to have bluffs on these runouts.
yeah, exactly right. Yeah,
Which
I think it's reasonable.
this is you think it's reasonable? I
Yeah,
would I mean
I think he can do that. Yeah.
I would be impressed, but these players are impressive, so I could see it. And I
Well said.
promise we don't look at these hands in advance. So that is a great read, Griff. Well done. That is
Yeah, I mean
astonishing.
it's like one of the few combos of bluff maybe that didn't get there, but yeah, that's a sick read by Pokerbot to find that hand.
This is one of the most astonishing hands I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, I mean
To
to be
have
good there, it's pretty nice. You're
yeah,
feeling
wow.
pretty good after that cool down. There would be a fist bump in my room if I did that.
Do you think the Zagas? Do you think Zagas might not try and bluff this guy as much in the for the rest of the challenge?
You might think twice about it now, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You might think I'm not putting anything in versus this guy.
Well, maybe Pokerbot didn't want to fold, have his cards hit the muck, and then have Zagas windmill over the Jack Jack 10 4.
Yeah, true. I like Zagai's play though. It's nice.
I think finding that line
It's a
is
beautiful river bluff when you get the 8 on the river and you think about all the aces and kings villains gonna fold and then you get snapped off by it.
Zagas opening out of MP. This is the same player that we just saw earlier, tripling off
Yeah.
on the 10-9-9 board.
Bluff.
Tony 3-betting the ace-9-8-6 double. Is this an automatic 3-bet?
Yeah, I think every player in this pool is shoveling the money in there.
Mm-hmm.
I think you just
Button
check.
checking, yeah. I mean, if you do
could
bet
maybe
this,
think about bet folding it sometimes. It's kind of nice with a 6, and we don't actually turn that well, so you could just try and bet it and fold out a bunch of kings and queens and stuff that don't have diamonds or something.
if you do bet this flop, are you always using a larger sizing, or do you ever go smaller?
I think I'd go medium sized. Yeah, just
Oh, really?
I don't think it matters too much actually here. You can just bet what you want as long as you're betting consistently. I think sometimes in poker it's like that, right? Where it doesn't really matter what you bet as long as you're putting the right stuff into it. I think this is probably one of those spots. You could probably have a bet 33 or you could have a bet 75, but you just have to check a lot more for the bet 75, I guess.
Well, as you decrease your sizing, are you increasing your bet frequency?
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
So maybe if you're playing a strategy where you use smaller sizings in positioning here, you might bet this hand, and if you use larger sizings, you might check it.
Yeah, that seems reasonable. Yeah. Okay.
One of the things about being able to see cards up play of someone is that it tells you what they might be doing given what they didn't do. And seeing this player check this hand, maybe they are using larger sizing here if they were to bet.
Yeah.
Yeah. B50 on turn, call, river
Yeah.
7. I'm seeing
We know
some.
what's gonna happen here, right?
Yeah.
So,
Oh, no kidding.
oh, we
This
don't.
this got way more interesting. Wow. So check, B50 call,
Yeah.
donks for pot from a player that is clearly capable of sticking in the chips with a stone cold bluff.
Yeah.
Do you ever
Yeah.
think about calling this river?
I think you do. You've got to consider
Really?
it.
Really?
Um,
Why is that?
we have an 8 and a 6 and an ace. I don't think you'd expect too much two pair to be doing this. So, like you said earlier about the like polarization of the range, maybe making us want to station a bit more when they're representing very thin, and when we block that. Yeah, I don't know. I
So
mean,
on the bluffs, are we seeing like ace, king, jack, 3, king, high diamonds or something like that, or is it mostly going to be around the straight cards?
yeah, I think you need the straight blockers. Pretty good ones here, probably. Um,
Well, if your opponent is thinking about
if you
calling with
don't
an
have
8, do
all the
you?
5-6 after like check call, maybe you would have bet some of them that like you called the 3-bet with, to then check call and then pot. Mm, yeah, I don't know.
Well,
Um,
so I just noticed you were sitting at this table, right, Mahasajan?
yeah, yeah.
Do
I
you
don't
remember?
remember the hand at
You
all,
don't?
actually.
Okay.
No,
I was just curious.
just
Just
I
curious.
like I saw it and I'm like, oh, will I remember it? But
Well, so let me
yeah,
ask you a
I'm not
question.
sure.
And
Mm,
I don't, this is not a leading question. I'm not sure about the answer here. But so if the button is thinking about calling with an 8 because they have
mm,
a straight blocker,
yeah,
they're definitely going to be thinking about calling. Are they snap calling all two pairs if they have two pair here?
I would be hard pressed to fold too much to this.
Like 7-4, 7-8, the rare 7-4, 7-8 the button might have. Are they just sticking it in? They're just calling it.
I think most of the time they would have a straight blocker. I guess you'd have like ace 7-8 something. Um,
Ace
ace seven
seven
eight
eight
nine,
with a 9 high
ace
diamonds or
seven
something.
eight nine. That maybe you're betting the turn, but yeah, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Hmm. Well, so
it's going to depend a lot on the player, I guess.
I was wondering how
Yeah, I
much
don't
we.
think you would jam his combo either as Tony. So we're looking just at a call or a fold.
Mm-hmm.
I would call, and if he's got it, he's got it. I think. Like,
You put it in with a pair.
I think, yeah.
The
We
fact that
just
this
we just
is
decide sometimes.
apparently
If we get
standard.
like King Queen 7 here, we're a bit sad. But if he's got some 5-6, then
Uh-huh.
does he turn them all into a bluff? I don't know. But we've seen him get there with get in there with some other stuff. So yeah, yeah. I feel like it's an okay call compared to other stuff. Yeah, yeah. We're just
I might be questioning my decision making if I stick it in with
Mm.
ace 8 and just get shown it. But the fact that this is a
Yeah.
normal river call is astounding to me. I
It's
am
definitely not
playing the wrong
normal,
game.
but then the donk pod isn't super normal. Maybe you just pay off a bit more than usual, and maybe Zagaz is also realizing that, like, yeah, he can just get called off. But I wouldn't have been surprised to see a bluff by Tony, so maybe he could have got the bet anyway.
Well, interestingly enough, if we look at the hands on the turn, Tony was way ahead.
Mm,
3 of the cards shared, higher kicker. There is a double
yeah.
gutter for Zagas, but still way
So
ahead.
Tony should be beating the desk that the guy sucked out on him, right?
The injustice of it.
The injustice.
Brought to you by PLO Genius.
Heads up hand. G Kanda limping. Tony raises.
Yeah.
G Kanda calls.
Okay.
Tony bets. G Kanda raises. Tony calls. Wait. So this is a limp pot. Sorry, this is a limp pot, and then
Yeah.
he bets small.
Raise the pot.
V33 raises small. Non-pot size raise. Bet call. Okay.
Check.
Check. Bomb.
Bomb.
Defend. Nasty
Oh my
river.
god.
check,
Yeah.
bomb. You could feel it coming. Oh my god, what is this hand? What is this hand?
Tony's a non-believer in this game, I think. Maybe they had some sort of heads-up game going, and he had some dynamic where he just thought the guy was wrapping too thin a range, I guess. But I mean, the guy's got a lot of boats there, limp calling the button, so that's quite an outrageous call. I think maybe some players are looking at this hand wanting Tony in their game after this, right?
I'm trying to understand. Okay, so does the imposition player always use pot as a sizing on turn and river?
Yeah, I would say so, right?
So it comes down
Because
to
maybe the isolation raise pre, it's going to be more high card heavy and more maybe over pair heavy when it goes back call. So then you want to kind of put that range. You don't actually need to bet that big to make them fold on the turn, but yeah, I think if you're boating up on the turn, you're going to want to pot. And what are you going to do with a straight then? Are you always going to call? I mean, Tony's happy enough calling with an overpair, so he's definitely playing the spot differently than most, I think.
Well, let me ask you this. So Tony's got an ace of clubs and a 9. So on the turn, when he gets potted into, he's saying I have a straight blocker, and on the river, he's saying I have a flush blocker. But you were saying that the imposition player has a lot of boats. So is it possible that Tony was looking at his blockers, in quotation marks, and thinking that makes this a better candidate for a call when really he wants to be having pair of blockers?
I'm not really sure what Tony is thinking, actually.
Well, let's see if he had a soul
doesn't really
read.
block too much of the hand. He's just saying that it seems like a reasonable hand by G-Kanda. Like, you got to bluff these hands.
I think this is a well executed bluff by G-Kanda, and I think Tony had some X-ray vision. But I have a real hypothesis that I think the 9 and the ace of clubs look like decent blockers to have that make you want to potentially continue with this combo. Whether that is true or not, I think they look appealing, and he thinks G-Kanda is super competent, going to be bluffing this texture a lot versus small.
Because are you really getting pot with the nut flush?
Well, I don't, or well, any other flush. Yeah, I don't. I'm not sure. I don't think so. But my point is that maybe that's what led him to want to call. Yeah, and it worked.
Yeah.
MP opens, cut off 3 bets. Heads up 3 bet pot.
3 bet, I guess.
Super deep.
Yeah.
Super deep.
Seems okay.
Do you think that there's more or less leeway at this stack depth to include hands like this?
Surely more. Yeah.
Okay, so Mr. Louis up to something?
Yeah.
Checking it back as a... do you think he's checking the flop for... I don't want to say deception because that's such an old school concept, but taking a combo that might be majority betting and checking it for balance, or what?
Yeah, I think maybe he's just thinking like super deep. He doesn't want to get check raised by a range maybe that has a lot of queens and tens. I don't think it disguises too much because you're still going to check a lot of ace jack or ace king anyway. So on the Broadway straights, it's not like it's unheard of that you would have a straight there as IP. But you have a lot of equity and you don't really want to bet fold it, and it kind of depends a bit on I'm the best's flop strategy as well.
Is it possible that the check is so that the imposition player can call turn bets and then have air on rivers they wouldn't usually have air because their range shifts more to made hands whenever they flat turn, so that they can add this as a bluff on some rivers?
I don't think of poker too much like that in that sense, like needing to have draws or something to call with and then having too much value on the river. Maybe it's the right way to look at it, I'm not sure.
Would you be reaching into your weaker made hands to bluff then? in those spots?
Yeah,
where
I guess I would just have enough, I would just assume that our range is constructed in a way that we have enough draws anyway. So that there's going to be enough stuff to draw our bluffs from. We
I
don't
see.
need to like think about having air on the river, I guess.
Hmm.
There'll be plenty of air, from my experience anyway.
Well,
Okay, so we call it pot.
we have air here. So
Yeah,
with a
we
straight
have
blocker.
2 straight blockers. Yeah.
Yeah, 2 straight blockers. Yeah.
Mm.
Oh boy.
I mean, I think we know where this is going, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Pretty sick.
yeah, it's a nasty spot.
Is this a Jack 9 or nothing, or do you think 7-9 can jam here?
I think it depends on their dynamic, probably. But I would say it's probably Jack 9 or nothing. I would expect most 9-7 to flat. Maybe if you had 9-9-7, you'd jam. You kind of require I'm the best to be doing that thing, like you said earlier, where they're just maybe potting a lot of like 2-pair stuff that I don't think all players would pot a lot of 2 pairs, maybe to see a block. So you're kind of potting over a range that's 9-7 plus. Well, then you don't really want to pot with 9-7, right? Jamming in. But if
So,
he's got all the queen tens in there, queen 8 even with like a straight blocker, then you could jam it. Yep.
So if Am the Best is, I'm not sure if you would say depolarizing or playing it improperly, non-polar.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure.
Value
Like
construction
maybe you
here.
do get some pots here with some 2-pair in a straight blocker. Like it
10,
does
9.
feel kind of nice to just pot it with queen 10 9-9 or something like that. Queen 10 9 king maybe. I don't know.
Well, so say you have 10, 10, 9 here. Are you just mucking to the jam?
Yeah, it feels like you could. Oh, this is the jam. I think you've probably got to defend them a decent amount.
He might have
Okay,
just been
nice
up
play.
to no good.
Yeah, I mean, you have 2 straight blockers on a river that's bringing in 2 straights. It's quite nice, I guess. And maybe if
I
he's thinking that I'm the best is really polar, then those straight blockers are gonna work pretty well.
Well, I think Mr. Louis has played with Am the Best. We saw in a previous highlight Am the Best being very creative, and that creativity might translate into a wider river bet than normal here, and Mr. Louis capitalizing on that with just the right combo, jamming
Yeah.
and getting a fold.
Yeah, that's a nice jam. Like it's a big pot as well. Like you pick up a lot of money there with that jam.
Well, especially because this challenge is based on expected value rather than dollars won.
Yeah, it's
And
pure winning.
pure EV right there. Yeah,
You love that red
juicy,
line when it goes up because you're just getting that pure winning. It's very
juicy,
nice. Yeah,
juicy.
very good for morale.
EP opens button flats at 10-20.
Okay.
Pretty clean check
Yeah.
here. I think
Yeah, looks good.
this is automatic. Yeah. Button. So in traditional raked cash games, the out of position player is going to be playing a very high frequency check because the button has such a high density of kings and queens in their flatting range. In
Yeah.
these cash games with so much wider ranges, the in position player or the out of position player can add more c bets here because they're going to be betting into a wider range. This is a pretty normal check in any environment. But do we think
Yeah.
that the button? Do we think these players are thinking about that in terms of how they're betting and checking?
Yeah, I think so. Like, there's a lot of good poker brains, I think, playing. And we might see crazy stuff sometimes, but there's often a pretty smart guy behind the computer on the other side. So, like, they have their reason for it. And this play style can also get people out of their comfort zone. And I think we've seen that. Like, it really takes you out of the box of what you think you know, and you're just kind of in a guessing game, which some people are very good at guessing games, you know. Some people are very good at guessing how the person is going to adjust to this guessing game, and even though it's maybe not looking like a great play, it's maybe turning out very well in this sort of environment. So
Well,
yeah.
speaking of great poker brains, what is this?
He's donking on the top card.
Yeah, check call lead for a third on a card that I mean, is this just because the out of position player has so much king X?
Yeah, I think it is good.
But is it for
It's some
value?
part of the range. It's kind of like I'm doing better on this card, maybe. I think it's more something you see more in No Limit. Um,
Hmm.
I don't play any No Limit, but I
What?
remember some stuff that happens on these board pairing turns where the player likes to lead small. So
Yeah,
um,
for out of position check calling on like 10-7-5, donking on a 7 or a 5.
yeah, I think that happens in No Limit. I think
Mm-hmm.
for PLO it does get a bit different in these certain spots, but yeah, he's trying something different as well. Like maybe he thinks that Shank is gonna react badly to this, and he's gonna get raised less with the ace queen. So he's getting to the showdown. He got to see his hand to the river for 100 instead of 300 maybe on the turn. So yeah, it could
Well,
could work
that's
out quite
true.
well, right?
By leading yourself, if your opponent is
Mm,
mostly flatting or calling or flatting or folding, you get to choose the sizing. That's true. Uh,
yeah.
it's interesting because I know these players are playing at such a high level that there is intentionality behind this like check call lead.
Mm,
But if you were to remove the dollars, like the how much they're playing for and how good they are, and you showed me this hand, and just brought it down to like a basic PLO approach, I'd be wondering
mm.
what's going on, because you've got ace queen on the turn, unclear if there's any many weaker hands able to call, and you're preventing their error from bluffing in position, and then you've got a
Yeah.
10 eye flush on the river. Is like, if I saw this, I would think it would be lower level players trying to get to showdown, when I don't know if that's really a thing at higher level PLO. Where I just don't. I'm surprised, and I know that there's thought processes behind this that are like
I
heavily
mean,
justified. So what is it? What's going on here?
I don't exactly know what he's thinking. The river is maybe a bit thin when you think about it. How much really, you're not really targeting that many flushes, maybe, but you're targeting King X that didn't raise the turn. Um, but then maybe you're going to face a raise by that a decent amount, and then you're putting yourself in the tough spot when you bet and then get raised by the guy who's looking down at King whatever and thinks this guy's trying to milk me with a flush and just puts it over the top of you, and then maybe that's his plan all along to call it off. So
Hmm.
I don't know. Like,
Well, in contemporary high level heads up PLO, I have
mm,
seen a significant amount of river donking for as blocks. I think
yeah,
at least in the Galfond challenge, there was a large amount of river blocking used, but that
okay,
wasn't in a check call lead line. It was in check
yeah,
call donk,
mm,
which is a very different line.
yeah,
Here,
definitely a
it's
different line.
almost like our out of position players going for value and then going for value, uh,
Yeah,
which is
yeah, it's kind of like,
very thin.
um, yeah, it's a bit thin probably.
And
Okay, so we
there's
see that raised. Yeah,
there's the punish, and
I
now we have
mean,
actually like
mm,
reasonable cards.
yeah, I mean, this is maybe his high level thinking from the start where he's just going to snap off the raise then. Um, I mean, for sure, like King X should raid us a lot, so you are going to be good a decent amount here. And okay, if you've got the queen, is the guy going to have quads or king queen? And then you're like, well, okay, I have the queen, it's quite nice. I have the hearts. He would maybe flat with the king with the hearts. So maybe he thinks Shank's going to just bluff a lot of King X. Could be quite reasonable.
Well, let me put forward a theory. So if we, as we were talking about, the button can be flatting pretty wide here. We've been seeing people
Mm.
flatting very wide during this challenge. And if he could be flatting very wide, and then he might be stabbing this board at a reasonably high frequency because it traditionally favors the imposition so much. Maybe, thank you, our EP player is aware of how wide Shank Duffner might be, and is betting the turn and river in order to induce this. And that is in contrast to setting a price with your hand or something. The lower level people thinking maybe he was up to some serious
he's up to
mind
some
games.
street poker, I think. Yeah, I mean, like, it could easily be possible that like everything that he assumed is come true there, and you could say it has with this hand. And he's caught Shank with the cookie jar, what the hand in the cookie jar a bit.
So is this art or luck?
I think this is kind of what I was saying, where like the guys are just they're taking an unconventional line, but then they're sort of their hand reading skill or something is coming over at top, and they're just they're pulling out the right buttons against the other guy's bluffs. So yeah, it's impressive.
I think it's very impressive. Yeah, nice hand. Is this thank you later or something? Or nice hand
Yeah,
to our
say thank you now
player.
to Shank and cash in that $3,000.
Yeah, very nice hand. We are still playing 10-20. Shank's back, opening out of MP.
Yeah.
Getting 3-bet by the cutoff. Raise 3-bet call. Interesting.
Looks
Pretty
normal.
very contested flop here between these ranges. Check,
I
half
think you're
pot,
just gonna
call.
get that every time, so that's normal enough. Check.
This is off of 2,500 effective.
Yeah.
So
I think you're
river's
just gonna see a
be-
call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
What?
normal, creative.
Creative, I think. Yeah, this is a nice move.
Is it pushing it too much, or do you think that this is still driving the speed limit?
I'm not sure actually. I think not every player is turning it into a bluff here, so that's a tricky one on the river.
Well, do you think the showdown value
If you
is
think
fake?
you're going to get enough folds by aces, then it's a pretty nice play. But if you're facing a guy that's going to call them, you're going to be probably just putting in too much money, I think.
Well, so for this sizing, do you get aces without a straight blocker to fold?
Yeah, I would think you do.
So here we have a 2-5 hand, MP opens, cutoff flats, button flats, three ways, mid
It's
and late
beautiful
position. Oh yeah, Richard just drilling it,
Wow.
choosing to
Drilling the bet as well. So
lead after the
just
pre-flop
going for the
raiser
value.
checked. Yeah, getting action. Not slowing down as there are more draws coming in, but a couple complete.
Yeah.
Plenty of hands you can still get value from. One of the nastier runouts you can see.
Yeah, that's not what you're hoping for with the tens on that flop.
And this is a tough spot.
Yeah, that's a nasty spot.
What are you thinking?
I don't know the players at all. I would think that you'd have to fold most hands without a diamond in your hand. So maybe this would be in there.
Well, but
Yeah.
by absolute hand strength, we are probably pretty high up, and we have
Yeah.
a 9. Although a lot of 8, 9 might
Yeah,
have
the
jammed turn.
tens are pretty good as well. I think Jack 10 10 is also like it's better than a straight, I guess, here for calling. So
And Richard Gere, whenever he leads checks, might not have very many flushes protecting his checking range. And so if we have mostly sets and straights, this is still one of our... I mean, it might be higher up than it looks.
yeah, that's fair.
I have to give my honest opinion. I think there's a lot of ways that you can talk yourself into calling this hand, but I just don't think you're good very often.
Yeah, I would think you're not good that often either.
We're looking at like ace, king, queen, five with ace, queen of hearts and king of diamonds or something like that.
Patex needs to bluff a lot as well, right? With some stuff
Yeah.
that might check. Um,
Like a 7-6,
yeah, maybe 7-6 with a good diamond blocker should be in there.
10-6. Well, 10-6 is hard to have.
Yeah, yeah, I think some 10-6 could be in there. Okay.
4-7. There's the 4-7 with
Yeah,
a
that's
straight
nice.
blocker and a diamond.
Yeah, that's a nice call off.
Well, what do we think of
If
pre-flop?
you know the player is going to turn the 2-pair into bluff with the diamond, then you're a lot happier about calling, right? Because I think some players might see the 9-4 and just check. But Patex is, or Paketer, feels that his range is too much made hands, and you have to find some of this stuff to try and pad the range out with enough bluffs so you do get called by Jack 10-10. Otherwise, they're folding pretty happily, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's so difficult to know what people are doing pre-flop in these games, and I wouldn't have expected this hand to peel pre-flop, but once you see it, I think you're happy in Richard's shoes to
Yeah.
reluctantly put in the call.
You're happy with your decision after you see it.
But it's hard to know in advance.
You know he's going to have a lot of diamonds there as well with that hand.
A lot.
That's also got there, so yeah.
Here we have a 2-5 hand, Villicati opening from EP, MP flatting, small blind flatting, the weak aces and big blind completing. Yeah. Looks normal.
Looks okay, yes.
EP betting, which I would have expected on this exact board, given the presence of the big blind and the four-way nature of it, that the early position would have a very low bet frequency here, like sub 15%, or like maybe 12 to 20%, something like that.
Seems reasonable.
So I'm actually not too happy with the aces here.
No, I'm not either, for sure.
But
there's not many turn cards that you're happy about.
Well, especially with the big blind after you.
Yeah.
You're gonna get punished here a lot from the big blind, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Even not necessarily as a raise, but even if they flat call behind you, they're taking away a lot of equity from you. But Peach defending, early position checking back. That's surprising. I would have imagined like ace 7-8 or something like that would be continuing whatever the early position found as a bet. I'm surprised that turned through. This is
quite a big bet.
This is adventurous.
Wait, how big did he bet? Sorry, he bet half pot or he bet?
Yeah, B50 and jam. So you're saying you have a bet?
Yeah.
I mean, does this not just seem like the cleanest top set of all time? I don't know. I feel like
maybe he doesn't think top set checks too much on the turn. Could be right, you know. Most top set might continue betting, thinking that 5-7 isn't really that relevant in the small blinds range with big blind behind him as well.
I think conventionally that's true.
Keep on betting.
Yeah. Although we have just an hour ago seen the 10-9-7-5 flat out of the small blind, right?
Yeah, maybe most sixes would bet as well on the turn, given that a lot of sixes that open probably have a 5 or a 7 in. So that then maybe Peach is thinking the guy's got a lot of 10-6 that just look down at that and think I'm going to bluff him.
Well, we haven't actually seen what Peach's action is. This might be a fold. So let's see that. Okay, no, it's a call. So are we thinking that there's enough like 6x and 10x that bets flop, checks turn, and wants to jam river now, repping the set that took the same line?
It seems so, yeah. I think maybe you're going to see enough of it to call. I wouldn't take the line potentially on the river, but Peach maybe knows enough about Villicati to sort of go for this line.
Well, that name sounds Finnish, and if you know anything about Finns.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
I think Peach has just sort of induced that that raise and made a stack out of something that maybe most people would have checked or blocked and maybe bet folded or something, but Peach just sort of correctly deduced that sort of the bet that he made has just induced a overbluff and called it off.
Look, I know that this is this is the lower stake of the competition, and it is only for one buy-in. But to me, this is a very astounding find for Peach. I think you're spot on that for Peach to navigate his aces this way, to win a stack off of this hand on this run out, is very atypical.
It's definitely
because he was betting river for value, and then once he got jammed on,
for sure.
he realized there were enough bluffs potentially.
Yeah, it's pretty cool play.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think like the best players are going to navigate these spots really well.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, it's quite like maybe you could think like the proper way to play would have made you X amount, but this sort of other style or something would actually make you a lot more money than the quote unquote proper play.
Yeah, well, some initially cautious play with aces turned into a very proficient adventure for Peach, navigating this hand to showdown and winning a stack. And that's all for us. Tune in for the Day 5 coverage coming to you in the next few days. Thank you.